Hello friends and welcome to a lecture on operation research. In this lecture, we will understand what is inventory theory. This is Professor Arvind Prasad. The attempt in this lecture is going to be to explain you what are the fundamentals of inventory theory and what are the basic definitions involved in that. So here we are. What is an inventory? An inventory is a complete list of items in a stock. As we all are aware, almost every item of daily use is stored. We store items of daily use at home, and on the corporate level and on the government level also, and on the level of country, almost all items that have to be used daily are stored somewhere. That is, we do not have a situation where production goes on continuously and the consumption goes on continuously without ever a person ever storing the items. So we need to understand here that the history of storage is as old as the history of human civilization. We do storage for the purpose of war and we do storage in peacetime. Back in the old days, when the man was an hunter-gatherer, he did not have to really do any storage because every day he used to go practically for hunting. He used to get his food, he used to get his daily necessities, he used to use it. And then if required, he would go the next day and he would again do the same thing. That is foraging for food, hunting for food, and getting the basic necessities. But as human civilization advanced and we started doing farming, we were no longer required to go and search for food every day. What did we do? We grew food when the seasons were right, and then we harvested it and we stored it and we used it all throughout the year. So that brought out the concept of storage, that is storaging for a period for use. In modern days, if you have to create storage space, the first thing that is required is time. Yes, I would not put cost of operation or investment, but I would use time. To create any storage space, it requires time. You have to plan, you have to buy land, you have to construct the storage space. This requires time. Also, if you want to make a storage space, it's an investment. And in certain cases where the goods are expensive because the security needs to be arranged for them, or goods are big, the investment is going to be huge. And whenever you have a storage area, you have a cost of operation associated with that area because you will have to employ the security, you will have to employ a number of people so that whenever the material comes in, it is stored in proper places. Whenever the material goes off from the storage space, there's a record kept for it. So there's a record for incoming stuff, there's a record for outgoing stuff, and there's security of whatever stuff is stored in the storage space. Now, there are problems associated with storage planning. Now, one of the first things that one needs to understand is that whenever you fall short of items that you have stored, which also will now be known as inventory, it cannot be produced or purchased immediately. Well, it is not so obvious. It is obvious, but not so obvious in many cases. Whenever we try to solve a problem in the area of storage planning, we assume that whenever we place an order, it's going to come immediately. It is not so. Ordering requires time, executing the order requires time, and transporting the order to the place of storage requires time. Also, demands on the items stored are seasonal. They are when it is winter, you require sweaters. When it is summer, you don't require sweaters. So demand is seasonal, and demand also depends on festival. Demands are dependent on, sometimes within a month, the demands also change with days. On the salary day, the demand would be high. On a non-salary day, the same item, the demand would be less. For example, let us say food grains. Every shop which stores and sells food grains will go on record and tell you, yes, the demand of food grains from 1st to 10th is high, because that is when, on the average, people receive salary and they go and purchase their daily necessities. The demand perishes as the month goes ahead, and the demand falls at the end of the month. Demands also depend on holidays. Now, holiday is something which a country plans for, which a corporate organization plans for. And therefore, what happens is the demand on the holidays goes up. That is the demand of, let us say, accommodation on various holiday sites, air tickets, train tickets on holidays. Yes, the demand is high. And one of the items, or one of the issues with storage planning also, is that perishable items have a limited shelf life. So storing perishable items needs special planning because they have a limited shelf life. Let us take the example of milk. Milk has a limited shelf life. It cannot have an infinite shelf life. Sweetmeats, they have a limited shelf life. Fruits, they have a limited shelf life. Okay, cooked food, it has a limited shelf life. Now, what is scientific inventory management? In scientific inventory management, a mathematical model of the inventory system is created. That is, you make a mathematical model describing the inventory system. Then what do you do further? You make an optimal inventory policy in regards to the inventory behavior. After that, you also put in place a computerized information system that processes that how much is the inventory level at any time. That is, the current inventory level is always known, because the inventory position is tracked. So what do we do after that? We take the current inventory level and we apply the optimal inventory policy to that. From that, we signal when and how we want to replenish the inventory. So this is scientific inventory management, where you have a model which describes the inventory system. You have an optimal inventory policy which is in respect or in regards to the inventory system that you have. Then you have a computerized information processing system where you know the current inventory level at each and every point, and then you use it. That is the optimal inventory policy, and the information that what is the inventory available, you use it to decide when and how you want to replenish your inventory. So what are the inventory models you have? Mathematical models of inventory systems, describing inventory systems. You can have a deterministic model and you have a stochastic model. Now these two models are differentiated based on demand. Now what is demand? Demand in this case in an inventory management system is the number of units that go out from the inventory system per unit time or during a specific period. Now if the forecast of the demand is accurate, that is, you have a very accurate forecasting of the future demands, then you will use a deterministic model, or the model that will be made, or the mathematical model that will result from taking into account such demand and taking into account the inventory system. The mathematical model that will result from such a study is a deterministic model. When do we use stochastic model? We use stochastic model when the demand is random. It is not regular. Then we have to use a stochastic model. So what are the components of an inventory model? The first is cost of ordering. Whenever you order any item to replenish the inventory, it's going to cost you. And that's pretty obvious. Not much need to be spoken on it. The second, of course, is the holding cost. Whenever you hold any item in the inventory, it's going to cost you. Why? Because you need to pay for the security, you need to pay for the people who are managing the facility. So there is going to be an associated holding cost to that. The next is shortage cost. Well, this might not be very obvious to people. Let's give an explanation to that. Whenever the inventory level is such that it cannot supply the demand, there is going to be a shortage cost. Well, why there is a shortage cost? Because when you are unable to supply, the revenue does not flow in. That is, the money does not flow in into the system or your business. Why? Because you're not supplying the goods. Also, over and above, the revenue may also fall because you're not supplying and money is not coming from the customers. The customers may renege the order. That is, they may cancel the order and go to some other person. So that cost also has to be taken off because they have cancelled your order and gone to another person without the hope of them coming back. So that's going to cost you once again. It's going to cost goodwill to the company. So there is always, whenever there is a shortage of inventory, shortage in inventory, it's going to cost you. Why? Because you're unable to supply. And finally, we have salvage value. Salvage value is the value if you do not sell the product to the intended customer, but you sell it off to recover some value. Now, let's say you have a store and you have a season in a store. Okay, you have a season. So let us say you have winter season. So you buy a winter collection. Now it so happens in your store that all the items that you bought for your winter collection are not sold. So what do? One day you decide that you have whatever is remaining, you need to just sell it off and salvage some value out of it or get some value out of it. That is known as the salvage value. Now why is that required? It is required because the next collection, keeping the next collection would require space in the store. And nobody is ready to buy the winter collection now because winter is over. So that is going to be your salvage value. Whenever you just dispose it off to any person who will come pick it up. So that's a salvage value. Well, it is different from discount. In discount, you are going to keep the item and the customers will come and you are going to offer them a discount at which they are going to purchase it. Here, it's not the question of discount. You take a certain decision on a certain day that yes, the item needs to be moved out on this day and you sell it to a person who comes and collects the entire item and pays you upfront. So that money which he pays you upfront is the salvage value. So that was all about inventory theory, and hope you have enjoyed this lecture and you have got some value from this lecture. So goodbye friends, have a great day, and yes, do subscribe my channel. This is very important to me. Bye. That's the end.